record is the right thing. I think it should. Okay, I'm gonna hit play here on the weekend bid, and then we'll go through setups
Okay.
and sound.
Hello, everyone.
Everything
I'm
should
Rob
work.
Smith of the Smith and Black Channel here, Ticker Tacker, and we are living in exhaustion risk. SPY goes to the highs, starting off the week with Momo Hammer here, potentially up into new highs, but that's all exhaustion risk because we just keep blasting into the highs. We could use some corrective activity, but we don't have it. QQQ. Here, the same, just going into the highs after here, the Rev Strat, and this is what we look for, that outside bar. You know, that's always going to mean something. And then the inside, down, Rev Strat, into the highs, but exhaustion risk by just going into the highs and the weekly. Going to look like this. Here you got your weekly Momo Hammer if they want to keep blasting that. If we go to Apple, Apple potential hammer counter shooter if they want to bring this back up. So we had the 2-2 down, but now come rallying back like so. So we'll see if we either taking this out or drop back in. If we go to the small cappers outside week, just going to the highs again. So exhaustion risk there. VXX, and slowly but surely trying to bleed out again here, and looking just like the opposite of the futures here. An outside day with the shooter if they want to take that down. TLT bonds. Also here, inside month to the downside. So all of this still within this here. You see? So, but we are inside month and down for TLT. Go to the Dow Jones Diamonds. Blasting into the highs. Exhaustion risk. Daily. Here, potential 2-2-2 hammer counter shooter and take her back into the highs. We'll see. Boeing. Just kind of sitting here, but weekly either goes Rev Strat here, the inside, and then down here and back up, or the re-break because of the monthly here on that shooter. So either way on that thing. Coke, a little boring here, but it is what it is, and just a nice try to keep an eye on. Here comes 2-2 reversal on the daily. If we go to Triple M presently inside month to the downside, so we'll be aware of that. If we go to UNH inside month to the upside, and that tells us we're going to keep an eye on the XLV here, which is also inside month to the upside. So you've got ANTM also trying to go inside month and up and stay there. We go Humana. It's hammer counter shooter month. You got Molina Health inside month to the upside. So healthcare coming up. If we go to about exhaustion risk, we're going into the highs, and we always want to be aware of that. So if we go to trannies outside month already, and so you triangle them out here, down, and then back up into here, and so the daily now looks like this. Like so. So here's your triangle, and here, see if they can get out of that. You've got FedEx still hurting here. FedEx still dropping after last month here. So you do take all this stuff out. The question is whether that's going to keep going, but you got UPS to keep an eye on with that, as UPS is still Rev Strat month to the downside, albeit 3 months inside of here. So we'll see if they can finish the job and take this out or worse. If we go to Norfolk Southern, here you've got inside month and up with Union Pac, CSX. Here, 1 bar Rev Strat, and I'll just, once again, exhaustion risk going into the highs. ODFL, potential 1 bar Rev Strat month. Inside bar takes it down and now coming back through, potential outside month. We'll see if that continues. Go to the Utes, and Utes just kind of sitting here as an inside month. Again, stock and all of this business in here, so weekly, it's not doing much. So if you go to VNQ REITs, VNQ's a little tight range here on the weekly, but you do have this on the month. Trying to go inside month to the downside, and they can keep an eye on stuff like BXP doing that as well. If we go to XLE still inside month, but starting to come up a little bit. You can see this here. Came off the inside week to the upside, a little bit more to take all that kind of stuff. XOP here took the inside week up and takes out that. If you go to OIH, here the inside week, so we'll see a little bit minor exhaustion, but we'll see because we got Chevron here on the month. Still inside month, got to get out of there. Exxon, a little better, coming back up through this stuff. We go to Conoco. Inside month to the upside, Concho. Inside month trying to take that out. If we go to Tidewater, TDW trying to go inside month and up, so we can obviously watch all that stuff together and see how it goes. Go to XRT Retail. XRT just blasting into the highs again, and so just kind of stuck outside day on the highs. Target picked up steam and took all this stuff out that we were looking for here. Momo hammer, boom, took them all out, so exhaustion risk up there. Walmart just kind of sitting here, but you do got potential pivot machine gun. It went inside week and up. We'll see if that wants to pick up some steam too and come through all this stuff. Because Costco gave you an outside week here, so that's a try in itself on your daily, and you're going to see this. Like so. How do we get out of this? Costco. If we go to Captain Sig SIG. SIG is another, it used to be somebody coming out of the ashes here on the inside month. Takes all this stuff out here in one shot, but it's been higher in the past. We'll see how that goes. And Walgreens, still inside month and up, trying to come back here as it used to be somebody, starting off as an inside day. If you go to the IBB. Okay, so IBB, outside week, going to give you a try like this. To see if we can get out of this. Like so, we've got Abbott Labs doing this on the month, not really going just yet, but early in the month, hammer counter shooter, so long as this is above 109.67. AERI here, it used to be somebody and setting up the Rev Strat week, if we want to come back up through there. Amgen does this. Mother bar issues, but inside month to the upside, so we'll respect that. ARWR. Setting up here on the week. Rev Strat weaker here above 82.25. Go to blue. And blue. It's 2 month are up of 47.99. You're there right now. GBT. Coming up on the month, inside month and up over 49.09. You're almost there. If we go to INCY. Inside month and up over 89.35. Repligen. Inside month to the upside, a little bit more to go to new highs up here, 212.55. Go to the home builders, XHB, not really reflecting what's going on here. It's kind of sitting up there green, but you do have like DHI here, month and down, Pulte Home, like so, and KBH. So we'll see if that comes to fruition at all. If we go to the semis, SMH. Blasting into new highs, exhaustion risk. Daily gaps up and comes in a little bit. You go to XLK. And XLK, Momo hammer on the daily, a little bit more to go to new highs. We'll see. If we go to Facebook, a bunch of these guys doing nothing. Facebook's doing nothing here. So you just want to be really aware of this kind of doing nothing. It's trying to go month and down. 4 months in here. Minding that quarter still. Amazon the same. Just stuck in here doing nothing. Netflix. Here, inside month and coming down a little bit. Go to the weekly. You can see these guys stuck in here, but you really want to see if we can get a move going towards the highs or the lows. Nowhere near doing that. Google here, just kind of sideways, still doing nothing, but you do have the outside week to respect. If we go to NVIDIA, still doing nothing. It's finally an outside week, so it's starting to triangle a little bit on the daily, looking like this. So we'll see if we can get out of this thing. But for the most part, pretty quiet over there. If we go to Baba, and Baba, here, inside week, we'll see what comes of that. Baidu still ripping here, and that's just used to be somebody a lot higher here, but a little exhaustion risk on that. Checkpoint, CHKP. CHKP on the weekly here. Potential 222 if they want to continue this one here. So we'll see if that can take out the hammer. If we go to Coop also, weekly hammer, see if we can get the 2-2 back up. If we go to CRM, been a little bit of a snoozer, but you do have hammer if they want to try and bring that back up. And so you can see the shooter, then the hammer, and that's going to give you this on the daily, like so. Like that. We'll see if that comes through. Go to CTXS. CTXS. Weekly hammer counters an outside bar. We'll see if that can come back through there. If we go to EA, an EA potential 2 up, 2 down, and come through here because we're still looking to finish the job on the monthly and come up, take that or that out. If we go to FTNT, FTNT weekly, Rev Strat. If they want to take that up, Go to Grubhub. Grubhub 2-2 back to the upside, coming through these guys, and it used to be somebody. We'll see if there's more to it. MongoDB, and here, weekly, potential 2-2 back to the upside. Motorola MSI, watching the monthlies here, inside month to see if they can come up and take out this stuff. If we go to net, and net, weekly, another hammer here, potential 2-2-2. If we go to NTES, still blasting, month and upper, like so. If we go to shop going to give us this, potential 2-2, back to the upside. TTD, either way, you got a hammer if you can take that out. Otherwise, if you fail, you go back down 2-2 monther. Vive, just gonna keep an eye on this inside month here. And to start off the week, you got this here, RevStrat week here, 289.11. Go to ZM, starting off as an inside week. Okta, hammer off the try if they want to bring that back up. PAYC would be RevStrat week here over 450.16. Just a few more AAXN. Tight little try in here, but we'll see if that can go 2-2 back up through this thing here. If we go to ACMR, the Randy Jackson pattern monthly. Here, monthly. The RevStrat, failed RevStrat hammer back up. Takes these guys out. We'll see if that can take that into the highs. Archer Daniels Midland. A little boring, but it is inside month to the upside. And then setting up RevStrat day to start off Monday. If we get to ATHM. And ATHM monthly, the 2-2-2. And we'll see if that can take this out. 107.92. AVLR. And AVLR. Weekly hammer. We'll see. Triangle the out. See if it comes back through that. Big C. Big C used to be somebody now hammering to start off the year if they want to try and come back through all this stuff. Used to be up there. Beyond the meats. Beyond the meat. Inside month to the downside. DraftKings. Just a nice daily try to keep an eye on here. And stuck in this sub-try, but you can see here, you can keep an eye on this bigger one if it starts going towards either side. General Mills, month and downer. Lockheed Martin, Curtin here, 2-month inside pattern to the downside. You can watch that with Northrop Grumman here, having some issues here, taking out the month. If we go to Peloton setting up RevStrat week. If we go to QLYS, also setting up RevStrat week. Thermo TMO took out the week and then some, so that gives us an inside month and up. Thermo TMO. Whirlpool. Weekly hammer for once you come back through this range. And Teslers. Just exhaustion risk blasting into the highs because that's what Teslers do. All right, on this week, second hour on Tuesday, we finally uncoupled for the 60 daily, weekly, monthly time frame. So that'll be a good event. So we'll see how that goes. All right, that's going to do for today. I'm Rob Smith. This is Mr. Black. All right, take a tiger.
All right, cool. Let's get to kind of what I put together here. I'm gonna switch my screen. Alrighty. Sometimes Zoom is a little wonky when you try to switch the screen, so hopefully that doesn't happen. All right. Can everybody see my screen? Okay.
Yep, got it.
All right, cool. Yep. Yay. Much better than last week. Oh my Lord. Here, let me just get to the beginning of my list here and then we'll run through these. Okay. Let me just get this out of the way too. There we go. All right. So a lot of these look good for longer than just a day trade. I like to look at, as far as the longer timeframes go, the 195 and the daily with the weekly and the monthly. The reason I like the 195, a lot of traders use the 4 hour, but for me, I was always thrown off by the fact that those candles cross over into a new day. So the 195 takes the 6.5 hour trading day and divides it into 2 equal parts. So similar concept to the 4 hour, but you don't have that crossover into the following day, because I never quite knew how to interpret that. So a lot of the stocks we're going to look at are inside on the 195-minute chart. That's a longer time frame. So, you know, if you're in Rob's room, the safest thing to do with inside candles is not to trade them. However, when I'm looking at, let's say, the 30 and the hourly, I like, as well as the daily potentially, I like the setup. Weekly the same. Obviously, as we all know, it depends what futures do and how we open tomorrow. But assuming it's a strong day, we've got a nice hammer type candle on your hourly, and same with the 30-minute. The daily is a little bit less clear from the standpoint that this candle could indicate a reversal. It probably won't, though. You see this a lot in a continuation pattern to the upside. The weekly, if we can get above, for me, this 151 level, that looks like a nice ride back up. Again, the proper way, a lot of traders will wait for a wick to break before they get in. So I don't want to tell you anything different than what Rob does. I personally tend to use the body of that candle because, you know, with options, if you wait till the wick, sometimes you're just missing an awful lot of the move. And like I said, I like it on some of these, the 30, the hourly and so forth. And this could be a potential swing back to this 176 level. And the way with swings that you determine what kind of option you're going to take or what your expiry is, if you're going out anything over a month, I always go with what's called your regular way expiry. And those are the 3rd week of the month expiration. That's where all your open interest is. That's how swing traders trade. Those are the options they use. Something like an Airbnb, what you need to do is take a look at how much it moves, and that'll give you a clue as to how far you would need to go out for something like this. So if we closed at 149 and we're here, that's what, 25 points. Well, Airbnb can move. The average true range on that is 11.6 points a week. So this thing's capable of zooming back to those highs pretty quick. So something like this, depending on what kind of trader you are, I always like to give something a little bit more time. So if I was a swing trader just looking to get back to the top of that range, I'd probably take an expiration 2 weeks out, somewhere near that magnitude, just to give you guys an idea. Baba, this is inside on the 195, and we've got a big gap above. My preference would be that it continues to move back up, because you could get a really explosive move off this candle. Baba's so newsy lately. Personally, I probably would wait for the break of that candle to the upside. I don't want to get caught in something I think is going to work that officially isn't. It's also inside on the week. So that magnitude's 241. This is 238. So if it breaks the 195 to the upside, I may be willing to get in and take that for a swing because I can see we've got a sizable gap here to the upside. Let me just double check when Baba reports next. Yeah, and Baba reports the 11th of February. And if you've been trading a while, you've noticed typically, not always, but typically as a stock approaches earnings, it'll get that nice run up of expected buying, into earnings. So I like that setup. There's clearly magnitude on it. And we got some time till earnings. You could swing that as well over the 195 candle, which again, that level is 238-ish. All right, let's see here. BLNK. I like this because you've got this almost hammer type candle on the weekly. You've got a hammer type candle on the 195. If you look at the 30 and the hourly, it looks like it wants to run. The daily, this is your shooter counters hammer. That's really functions almost like an inside day, the two candles together, because the first close and the second close are almost identical. So really it did nothing for 2 days. That could be a nice run back up to these highs of 56, 54. CGC, this guy could go either way. We have this large gap from Friday, or no, it wasn't from Friday, it was from Wednesday last week. So far it's holding. It's inside on the 195 minute. So once again, most likely something I would wait for it to break. If it breaks to the upside, let me see, I had thought at one point, looks like it's good. Yeah, CGC used to be somebody here. Look on the monthly. So there's plenty of magnitude to pivot machine gun back to the upside. And then the downside, we have that gap. So it could also choose just to sit here and fart around. That's why I would wait for the break of that candle. CGC, I think, yeah, they report beginning of February as well. So looking at it now, my thought would be to the upside, but we'll have to let her tell us what she wants to do. Costco, Rob mentioned this in his bid. You've got this 3 candle down from last week, but looking at the daily here, we've got this low, a high, a higher low, and a hammer. It looks like, and again, with any of these, this is what I'm seeing on these charts. You guys got to pay attention to what the market's telling you tomorrow. Just because I say this, the market, as we know, is going to do what it wants to do. So keep these setups in mind and maybe understand what I'm looking for, but just realize tomorrow could be totally different depending on how we open. I like the pivot machine gun back to the upside here on the 195, on the hourly, and on the 30. And Costco, what is that? Costco reports beginning of March, so plenty of time for it to start, running back up into those earnings. Okay. Coop. I think Rob mentioned this. Coop's got this potentially pretty 2-2 reversal set up here on the weekly with a nice hammer. So I like that. I like the 195. We've got this candle toward the upside. So assuming we've got strength, the body on that candle is tiny. This thing's got some room to run back to the upside. So above 344.92, 345-ish, I'd be looking for a long to pivot machine gun these guys back out. Let me just double check on Coop too, on that reports. Now that we're getting into earnings season, anything you're trading, just make sure you're looking at that. You don't want to inadvertently hold overnight and the next day they report. You could get lucky, but you can also get killed, especially if you're trading options. So you got plenty of time for that to run. FSLY, double checking earnings too with that guy. Yeah, we got time. They report February 18th, so we've got some time. It's got that same kind of setup like Coop did on the weekly. So we've got a little hammer, and I'd be looking for that 2-2 reversal back to the upside pivot machine gun style. On the 195, we've got that inside candle with a little body. I mean, ideally, near the open, we're right on the highs or maybe the close for that pivot machine gun setup back up. But I'll be waiting for that to break. From the hourly and the 30, one thing I want you guys to notice, and actually you could even trade the break on the hourly here, which will get you in a little bit faster potentially. But when you see a stock that is starting to trend up like FSOY is, and it pulls almost straight over, this is that consolidation. If anybody watched that quick vid I did on YouTube, this stupid drawing tool out of here. It's not cooperating with me. So that looks to me like it's wanting to explode upward. So when I put all the pieces together, looking at all of the charts, I like what I'm seeing. I also like this on the daily with this little spinning top doji. That's just a thinking candle. Typically you'll see that's a trend continuation sign. Go-go. I was looking at this for a possible pivot machine gun back to the upside. I haven't traded this in a while, but the options before it made this pullback over the past month or so, were actually pretty decent and moved pretty well. They were cheap and you got some real nice movement out of them, even though go-go is obviously a lower price stock. It's saying the range now is about 63 cents, but this thing can move $1. And the options were really nice when I traded them before. We're inside month. We're closer to the bottom of that range, but I always say change has got to start somewhere. We're trying to come up here on the weekly. We got a nice setup on the daily where it did a low, a high, a higher low, that hammer on the daily. We've got some room back up here. So, and on the 195, you can see it even more clearly. Pivot machine gun style back to the upside. So this guy, honestly, I would want it to be, these are almost, let me check here what this close is slightly above that inside week. Okay, that's good. So this I like on the setup off a smaller time frame, possibly out of the gate tomorrow. So if we're looking at a 1 minute and it gives you that signal, and by that signal, I mean, it may do something like this on a 1 minute time frame, open up, pop, come back, kind of base out and then go. Or once you see a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high on the 1 minute time frame, wait for a quick triangle layout to get in. JD. I like this setup. We can see here on the daily, it tried to get up to 100. Then it had this real nice pullback. Buyers stepped in. I would think maybe even tomorrow it can go back and test those all-time highs. Let me just check really quick again when JD reports, not until March. So looking on all of these charts, I like that setup for run back into highs and potentially up to 100. You'll find when stocks get that close, they're going to want to make that move most of the time to 100. JKS, this looks, well, this guy could go either way. So kind of like we looked at on the other chart here, you have this pullback straight across, just this little consolidation. So I'm looking for JKS to pick a direction over this box roughly. And looking at this, it could go either way. I don't really care which way it goes because there's magnitude in both directions. Looking at the daily here. The daily looks like it may be wanting to reverse back up tomorrow, but I'm not going to anticipate. I'd be drawing my little box here and a break on either side. So a break below 65 and a break above 67-ish. Below 65 would be your trigger short. Above 67, your trigger long. This is the hourly time frame. Your magnitude is back up here to 72. JKS. That doesn't report until March 12th, and we've got an ATR of almost 7. So that's that could be a real nice trade. Coca-Cola, Rob mentioned this too. If you're a newer trader and you're interested in doing swings, this one looks like, now that weekly candle's ugly, obviously, but on the daily, if we were to draw, I'm just gonna make this bigger, draw our broadening formation. It looks to me like it's at the bottom of that range trying to come up. And certainly we've got room. I always cut off the extremes when I draw them. And for those of you that are struggling with drawing broadening formations, there's no exact science to it. And you just, like when I started drawing them, I had no clue what I was doing. I just started throwing lines up and I noticed over time what seemed to sort of work. So that's what I suggest you do. A lot of this stuff, you just got to jump in and try it, start drawing the lines, start doing the thing, and over time it clicks. Coke's a fairly slow moving, I guess you really wouldn't know it by these crazy candles, but it typically has a range of about a point. But so if you're a newer swing trader and you wanted to get into something that maybe is a little bit more chill, this report's beginning of February. So once again, typically we see that run up into earnings, and certainly we've got room on the broadening formation. So that's why I like that. Net, I think Rob also mentioned this. There's quite a few of these with the hammer setup, and then we got magnitude back up here to the upside. So I'm looking for a 2-2 reversal on the weekly, and we can see on the daily, we already had a little hammer and it's trying to go back up. This candle on the daily, pretty small body to me. Again, that's just a thinking candle, almost inside day like, where it's just kind of sitting there and consolidating, not doing too much before I move higher. So I like that setup. We're inside on the 195 as well. So you could just wait for it to break in either direction before you take the trade. Netflix, Rob had it on there. It is, you know, inside this monthly. We haven't done much, but Netflix is explosive. I mean, it can really move. What I'm looking at here is all of this. Does that mean it's going to move next week? Maybe not. It might just keep going sideways for a while. But when I see a stock go sideways like that, it's preparing to do something big. When it'll do that next big thing, I don't know. That's in its own time. But wait for, and this is how I trade things like this. I trade on the break of that consolidation. You can also see it's inside on the 195. So you can trade the break in either direction here. It's just, there's more magnitude. So you're going to lose, you know, some potential moves on your trade. We're on the cusp of gaps either way. So I like that for an explosive move. I just don't know when she wants to. So keep an eye on it. PDD, same kind of deal here. I like this consolidation on either side of that box for it to pop out. Could that happen next week? Certainly. You know, if I look at the weekly, this looks like a nice up candle with a thinking candle where it went nowhere. When you see a candle that has a small body right in the middle of that candle, it's just pausing typically. So it looks like it wants to move higher, but we'll let her show us and trade the break of, and this is also inside on the 195. So you could trade the break of that little box on the 30 or wait and let this inside candle tell you what it wants to do. The break on the upside is about 181. The bottom, if you're using the wick, which is the proper way according to Rob to do it, is 178. Plug, I'm sounding like a broken record. It's the same thing again. The only difference here is you have these massive gaps on your daily chart. So you just got to be careful with that exhaustion risk, as Rob always says. But if we draw our little box again, can wait for the break there. We're also inside on the 195. So it's the same setup. Trade the break of that candle on the 195. And that is about 54 for an entry long and 51.30 for an entry short. Piton, I think Rob mentioned this too. It already looks like it started the triangle layout process back to the upside here on the daily. Let me just check Piton and plug real quick on the earnings. Piton is beginning of February, plug March. So all of these have time until earnings. Oh, go back to Piton real quick. Just double checking. Yeah, we're not inside on the 195 or anything. So snow, I like this for a possible. We had this real nice candle that took all of these guys out for a pivot machine gun. I like that as a possibility for a pivot machine gun backup. On the weekly, I mean, if we can open above the close from last week on the weekly, 301 roughly, we can pivot machine gun all the way back up. So I think that looks pretty. I also like the 195. We had this nice little pullback to trend. So that one looks like it's ready to pop. We've got green hammers on the 30 and the hourly. So to me, we've got a real nice lineup amongst the different time frames. Tesla. Oh, Tesla, the gift that keeps on giving, and my dumb self that kept meaning to get in and just never pulled the trigger. We've got an inside candle on the 195. So I said, for those of you that follow me in the morning a few weeks ago, this thing's going to 1,000. It decided to go there a lot faster than I was hoping, you know, but, or it looks like it's deciding to. Clearly it's not there yet, but Tesla over 884 roughly for a long, knowing there's a lot of exhaustion risk there, but Tesla is one of those, you don't bet against it until it shows you it wants to stop. Walgreens boots, I like this actually for a much longer term swing trade. I think they just reported last week too. So we're not until April, but I mean, look at the monthly. This is one of those I used to be somebody charts, and Walgreens isn't going out of business anytime soon. So to me, that looks like a really nice setup to go for a longer term trade. It's inside on the 195. This is one that consolidation looks to me like it's pulling over for a move higher, but I would be a little bit cautious because you have so many candles straight up in a row. And I kind of have a rule about that. You know, if it's gone on a run for 6 or 7 days without a real decent pullback, I get hesitant, which is why I didn't get into Tesla after I missed a couple of the earlier triangle layouts. So I would trade this on the break of this candle. To the upside, it's 45.75. To the downside, it is 44.82. Not a ton of range on this. It's a 1.5. So if you're a newer person looking to take some swings, this might be one, especially with options, that could be a nice starter setup. Walmart. We got Target that looks like it wants to go to 100. Generally speaking, you're going to find that Walmart and Costco kind of follow along with that. Walmart, when do you report? February 16th. So I'm looking at the weekly for a pivot machine gun. You know, there's your magnitude. Whether it'll get there by earnings, I don't know, because it's only got a range of about 2 points. Although I always forget because I look at Amazon so much, that's only, you know, about 14 points. So it could. But we have a real nice triangle layout here on the 195 with the hammer. Same thing on the daily, nice pullback. You could also swing Walmart pivot machine gun back up. And that one, you know, for newer traders, especially with options, isn't going to kill you typically if it goes against you. X, this is one of those I used to be somebody stocks and doesn't report until February 4th. And you've got this little consolidation deal here. You can see it more clearly. And you're inside on the 195, inside and up. So really over 22.42 for a long, below 21.51. And look at that monthly. This is one that you wouldn't want to build your position right now because you have earnings in a few weeks, but depending on how it looks after earnings, we got this thing at one point way back in the day was like 200 and some. So not saying it's going back there, but certainly as far as risk goes, I mean, it's rare that you see a chart like that where it's back to where it was practically in the early 2000s. So I really like that for a long-term swing once we get past earnings. But as far as this week goes, you can certainly swing it for the week. And your magnitude on something like this, you always look left. So your initial magnitude, just trying to see, we tapped it right there. This is black candle. Your magnitude this week would be somewhere in the 24-ish range, assuming it's strong. And X has a range of about just shy of 1.5 points, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a $20 stock. So this thing can move. The options are usually pretty nice too. I've traded those. Zoom, I got into a swing on Friday, but I got stopped out. And I debated entering on a triangle layout right before market close and then wimped out on pulling the trigger. But Zoom certainly ain't going out of business. It reports beginning of March. And I like how it's based out right here, potentially. And we've got a low, a high, a higher low. So I like Zoom for a long above 351 area. And you can see here on the 30 and the hourly, it's starting to kind of curl up. And this is usually what happens. It doesn't matter what time frame, if it's the 1 minute, the 15-second, the 195, when you see that kind of curling action, usually it wants to go. And so magnitude, we have a gap above it and below it. So just be aware of that. This is the hourly. Let me put it on the daily because that'll be easier to see. So we have that gap right below here. Just be mindful of that if you are getting long, because it could definitely turn around and decide to fill that gap as well. But I'm looking at the hourly and the 195 and so forth. It is starting to give that curl like it wants higher. Yeah, and that completes my list. Are there questions, setups, things that you guys want to run through? find my little chat thing.
Question, when you're looking at your, like when the earnings are coming in, what site are you looking at? Or is it coming off Trading View?
Well, say that again. Sorry, Ray.
You're looking for the earnings date?
Oh, I'm looking at TC2K.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I need to give you that script. If anyone's got TC2000, I have a script that throws the earnings date up. It does it on TradingView too, but it annoys me, those little,
The little circles, right?
yeah, my TC2000 just, I have this little box at the top of my chart. It
Whoa.
just tells me.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Please explain again why the 195. So the 195, really what happened for me is a lot of people will trade the 4-hour time frame. What they're trying to do is break the daily into kind of a smaller window. The problem I have with that, the daily candle represents 6.5 hours. So there are not eight hours in a trading day. So I don't like having a 4-hour candle that crosses over into the next trading day. Like my brain gets confused by that. So the 195, all that does, it's similar to the 4-hour, but it actually breaks the trading day into 2 equal candles. So if you trade the 195 here, let me show you something really quick. Here's a perfect example. Okay, you see NVAX on the 195, and I missed this, but you could trade it on a 4-hour, but then to really get that candle completely formed, you're gonna have to potentially hold overnight. And I want the option if I want to, but I want the candle to close the same day. So the 195, you could have taken a short below that 128.77, and that's just a beautiful, beautiful short trade. And it closes that same day. It makes sense. Okay, cool. And then the next day, you know, if you want to look at a setup for continuation, and actually NVAX has that potential to pivot and machine gun down, you know, on the 195 tomorrow. Because that's a pretty strong move. Usually when you get a strong candle in a direction like that, you don't just get one. So that could be a nice short depending tomorrow. All right, what other questions do you guys have? And what other charts do you want to go through?
I was thinking NVIDIA.
NVIDIA.
Because NVIDIA and NIO are going to do a partnership, and that news came out kind of, I think, late Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look at the, I like the weekly from the standpoint, we have that same deal right here. Look at that. I did nothing for 20 million weeks in a row. So, and then you have this candle that really we can draw it out to this candle, right? Everything's just screwing around inside this guy, more or less. So this to me, for lack of a better term, these types of setups, I'll call it a pop out of the box. I do like that for a potential pop out of the box. I would probably want it to be above. Yeah, it's the only thing with NVIDIA, it's got so much range. The close last week was what, 528.07.
Mm-hmm.
And the wick of that candle is 545. So that's almost 17 points of range. The safer trade is for it to break out of that consolidation, especially because it's been there a long time. It could just decide to screw around. But as you and I both know, with news events like that, we could wake up tomorrow and this thing's already gapped up to here. So let's just pretend, you know, if something like that happens. A lot of traders are afraid of gaps. You really shouldn't be. I don't think, you always have exhaustion risk when you're at highs, so know that. But with gaps, if gaps are going to backfill, like for a long, if we have a big gap and it's going to backfill to a degree, typically you'll find that happens in the morning, and then it will form, you know, kind of a base and start to curl up, or it will do the low, a high, a higher low, a higher high on another time frame. So I don't jump in out of the gate on gaps. I wait for them to show me they're going to hold. Or, you know, the other thing is you can watch, and if it's going to sell off, it's just interesting because gaps used to sell off and backfill almost all the time. That's not the case anymore. And I think part of it, honestly, is, and part of the run up is we have interest rates on bonds and everything else that are the lowest of the low of the low of the low. And I've watched stocks and bonds for years. I used to be a financial advisor with a practice advising clients. And it used to be when markets sold off, everyone would jump into bonds. And that really isn't happening anymore. I don't know if it's just because the return on bonds is so pathetic that, you know, they're really the only place for people to put their money right now is stocks. So NVIDIA, I mean, I like it kind of over that box area. And for all we know, we could gap there tomorrow. And if we gap, that doesn't mean you can't play it. Just wait for it to show you whether it's going to pull back and then stabilize and go higher. How far out do I buy options? So if I'm day trading, I always buy weeklies. There's no reason not to buy weeklies if you're day trading, because you're going to be flat by the end of the day. And your weeklies are going to move the fastest. They're going to move the fastest and have the highest return. So like Zoom, if I'm swing trading Zoom, I look and see that it was reporting beginning of March, and I'm going to buy a third week, which is called regular way expiry option, the third week of the month. And the reason that those have the highest interest, back in the day, there was no such thing as weeklies. All you had were third week expiries. So swing traders, and you can see this if you look at open interest on options, that third week expiry, especially if you're a month or two out, almost always has the highest amount of open interest. So to answer your question, it depends on what I'm trading. And if I'm trading something, let's say that reports end of January and there's magnitude and I'm going to swing it, then that could be a situation where maybe I would buy 2 weeks out. So really what it comes down to is you need to match your option buying to the time frame that you're looking to hold, if that makes sense. Short-term holds always use weeklies. What other questions do you guys have? Other charts?
Jen, do you trade the SPY much, and how would you trade it?
Do I trade the what, hon?
The SPY.
Oh, the SPY. You know what? I do sometimes. I haven't really as much lately because I forget who I was talking to. Maybe it was Scotty. It's once you've traded Amazon options, it's hard to trade other things because they move so much. Even if it's inside day, inside week, on a day trading basis, it still moves enough. But yes, I have absolutely traded SPY options in the past. There is a beautiful entry right here on the 30-minute long on Friday. But I know a lot of people don't like holding over the weekend. And I don't know that I would have wanted to hold over the weekend looking at that chart. These candles, this type of candle, sometimes at the top of a range will indicate that we're going to turn around and come down. It's no guarantee, but candles are interesting. You just have to know where they are in the range. At the bottom of the range, we look at that like a buy. And this could also, Rob calls this a Momo hammer, meaning if we're strong, the start out low, all the buyers came in, sucked it back up, and we're going to be off to the races. You know, looking at the SPY chart, it certainly looks like it wants to get to 400 to me. And there's no particular reason right now for it not to. I think we have a lot of this election stuff settled and the market's like certainty. So, so SPY, you know, it's actually a great trader. If you're a newer options trader, the spreads on it are very much around a penny most of the time. And, it's funny with SPY because when I first started trading, I think the range on SPY was like 50 cents and it's now almost 5 points. So SPY is a great trader. Have you traded it or no? I don't know if he's still there.
Not really. I just know that the expiration is every week there's 3 expiration dates.
Oh yeah. SPY's the kind of thing, like if I were trading it on a Monday, I would take the Monday expiration. So you have SPY expiries on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week. And so if I trade SPY, I typically take that same day expiration just because the options are dirt cheap. Thanks for reminding me about that. I haven't traded it in a while, but I think that's true. I think Q's has, maybe all the indexes do. I'm mind blanking on that. Was someone asking about the Randy Jackson? Jen, do you have a Zoom meeting every trading day at 5? No, I have a Zoom, a Discord meeting every morning before the market open. And so what'll happen is I'll take this list we went through today and we'll see how that's shaping up for not only day trades, but swing trades on that morning at the open. So if you're not in my Discord, just DM me on Twitter. My handle's at yogagen70 and I will send you that Discord link. So Randy Jackson, that's an outside candle to an inside candle to a 2 continuation. And I'm trying to think who did that recently. Just see. Did Amazon do that? I know a lot of
I don't remember which chart he brought it up on, but he brought it up in one of the charts.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find a good example of one that did it recently. If anyone else has one, you can tell me. So this almost did it. So this maybe will give you a feel. Although that's not truly an inside candle, but okay. So this is what a 312 is. Pretend that this 2 candle and this candle were a 3 because they are a 3, compound 3. And they're a compound 3 that took out all of these candles to the left. So if they were together, that's a 3. And this is an inside. So a 312 means on the break of this inside candle, and it could go either direction. So you could have a 2 candle down this way, or you could have a 2 candle that flew up that direction. That's what a 312 Randy Jackson setup is. Does that make sense? If anyone's got a better, like a daily chart example, I'm just trying to see here. Yeah, I can't. But that's what it is. You'll have a big outside candle. Here's another one. This is compound again, right? On Baba. You've got a little baby 2 that goes into this massive 2 down, but you put these 2 together, they're a big outside candle taking out all of these candles to the left-hand side. Then you went inside, then it tried to break lower, couldn't, tried to break lower, came back up, but these really are a 2 down altogether, like a compound 2 down. Good questions, by the way, guys. What else? What other charts? Are your brains fried? Newbie question. What is the best strategy to trade inside candle in the 30, 60-minute time frame for a day trade? So that's a good question. I am careful with those setups. I'm trying to think, was it Apple that we went through? I went through somebody's trade the other day and it did an inside 30. Was it Apple or maybe it was Netflix? Hold on one second. I want to see if I can find. good example for you. Let me pull up Netflix on the 30. Yeah, so you just have to be careful. And this takes some time potentially, but this is also why I strongly encourage you to watch a lower time frame, because, and we'll look at the lower time frame on this guy in a second. You see how we had an inside candle, and there, this candle came and broke the wick, and your magnitude would have been here and potentially all the way here. And then you would have gotten stopped out. And then I mean, it really just kind of screwed around in here all day. There wasn't a great signal. So that can happen to a greater or lesser degree kind of frequently on these 30-minute setups. So I always have, before I take a lower time frame trade, I always have the smaller time frame up, because you can see pretty clearly it's just not doing anything. It's trading in that range, right? And so when I see something like that where it's just screwing around, I know to stay away. The other thing is you can look at the daily, and on this particular setup, and you can see, when you see a shooter counters hammer setup like this, that's like an inside day on the daily. A lot of times now when I see this, where you've got a big candle and then I see a shooter, I expect a hammer, and I know that's going to be a little rough to trade potentially. So I just stay away. So let me see if I can find, like, here's a better setup here. Let me get this back to the 30. Let's just look at one that worked. But it is a little tricky. I know when I first started trading the Strat, I was just like, oh, every 30-minute signal I'm, thinking is going to work. And that's just not the reality of it. Well, and even that it probably shouldn't have stopped you out, although it may have, depending on where you put your stop. See, something like this is almost where it needs to be, but that price action still is kind of ugly. Yeah, it's not a great example. I'm sure there's one in here somewhere.
I asked Rob about hammer counter shooter or shoot counter hammer. I asked him about that last week, and I asked him if that was a indication of basically the same as an inside bar, kind of like what you're saying. And he said it was more of a triangle them out.
Well, it does that too. So what I'm saying is the two together, and the reason I'm saying that, so he's not wrong. Obviously, Rob's always right, but I'm saying from the standpoint, oftentimes, this one's a little farther off. You will have a close here at 508.96, and then you'll have the close on the opposing candle almost the same. That's why I'm saying it's like an inside day, meaning price didn't go anywhere.
Right.
So what he is saying is the market makers came in and took out the shorts here. This is why it's a triangle day out. They took out everyone who was short because their stop would have been, let's say right here. So there it stopped out your shorts. And oftentimes it'll stop out the people that got long on the other side. So if somebody got long on this candle expecting it to go, you see how they came and took you out there?
Yep.
So that's what he's talking about with the triangle day out. All I'm referring to is, just so I don't confuse people, and thank you for asking that. All I'm referring to is price didn't really do anything. Here, it just kind of sat there and screwed around.
Yep.
That's what I mean. Let's see, there was a through into an Apple hourly. All right, I haven't traded Apple as much lately now that the stock split. It's a great trader though. Really is. And Apple look at Apple Weekly if I try that out. 312 hourly. Was the 312? Let me see here. Let's see the 312. Do you know which hourly chart, like from which day? In the meantime, I'll put up the weekly. Yeah, that's so here we go. Get anyone long, boom, stopped out, turns around, boom. That happens a lot. So now I know when I see that shooter, I'm looking for the hammer 9 times out of 10. But once again, in 2 weeks, when we're looking at, and I'm referring to closing prices here. Here's this close and here's this close. So that close was 132 and the other one's 132. Or I'm sorry, 132.75, and last week's close was 132.05. So it did almost nothing for a week. I look at that, and 9 times out of 10, you'll see a continuation for it to move up that following week. So that's something you can watch for.
The 312 in the hourly for Apple, that was started at 8:30 on the 21st, on January 8th.
January 8th, okay. I'm
But do you have your full market hours open, or do you have like how that can affect the hourly?
What's that?
Sometimes if I have extended trading hours open, then it changes the hourly. The first yeah, so that's that first hour. There's a long 3 there.
Oh
no. Yeah. If you got to do regular the 8:30.
Yeah, and this candle's actually a 2.
Oh no, you have to do that. You had it there for a second.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Yeah. In the yeah, turn that off. Yeah, sorry, confused you.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. So you got the 3, 1, 2 off an hourly. That's the most stratty thing I've done I took in a while.
Sure. Yeah, it's a pretty one. It's a real
anyway. For the person who is, but I think if you're doing options, and any strat signal, it can take time to hit magnitude. So you just have to be aware of your time if you're doing a slower time. Is that fair, or is there?
Yeah. And for me personally, maybe it's because I was trained up on the 1 minute time frame. I always have to have it, if not on my main screen, somewhere, because I can see the moves happen early, either way.
Can you show that on a 1 minute and show how you would see that, or no? And it's not maybe the range isn't big enough to really take action on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Here's what I missed on Amazon. I think, was it on the hourly? Hold on a second. Yeah, it was this. I missed it because I ended up having to go somewhere and it didn't fail this little consolidation area until I had to leave. But that's a beauty right there on the hourly. What I saw in the minute, let me just show you. Whoop. That was on the 7th, I believe. Scroll back in. So this will happen quite a bit. You've got market makers in here trying to, in my opinion, get people to go long, because you've got low, high, higher, low. This one didn't go higher high, but you have a higher low and a higher high here. So I'm sure a number of traders that are newer may have tried to predict, but where I can see that start to happen, and Rob hates moving averages, I understand that. I personally really like the 20 though. A strat setup off the 20 to me works like 85% of the time. So I missed this one, but you can see it right here where it comes back. Let me make this a little bigger so you can see. And you get a 2-2 reversal off the 20, boom, there's your entry. And sometimes you can get in more quickly here. And for me, when I see it starting to fail this range, and now we're making lower highs and lower lows, and we've got what, 3 of them? There's kind of your tell right there. So the thing is, whatever you look at on a higher time frame, it applies to the lower time frames as well. And I think, you know, a lot of traders won't look at it because they say it's too chaotic and it moves too fast and all of this. But the reality is, and I'm not telling you to trade the 1 minute if that's not your gig. It's not for everybody. But it can sometimes give you a heads up when a larger time frame setup isn't going to work. And it can keep you out of some bad trades. And that's kind of why I like it. And I'm so used to looking at it that I can see an hourly candle on a lower time frame just because I've looked at it for so long, I guess. Anything else, guys? I know you're probably getting exhausted because we're.
All right, could you just point out that Strat signal off the 20 again? Where was that?
On the 1 minute? Yeah.
Yeah, 1 minute off the 20 average.
Sure. And you have it back the other way too. I mean, this happens here. You got a 2-2 reversal off the 20 back up. I mean, it happens constantly. So you've got a little bitty 2 candle and a fail right here. So you get a 2-2 reversal down, boom, you're in. And that's got some real nice magnitude all the way back down. I mean, you can see the magnitude obviously more easily on the hourly time frame. So I always have, you know, the larger time frames up with a chart that I can see what's going on a more micro scale. What else, guys? Ray, anything?
No, actually, I'm all good. I mean, some of the stocks I was looking at this afternoon, you covered in your.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you're, like I said, if you're not in Discord and you want, you know, because it's all fine and dandy to make these plans now, and then as we all know, the market can do whatever it wants and mess us up. So if you want to join us tomorrow pre-market and you're not in the Discord room, just DM me, you know, at YogaGen70, and I'll give you that link, and I'll be going through this list and paring it down tomorrow. I've got a lot of things that I think look so good for a swing. So that's going to be the harder part, is trying to figure out what to watch out of the gate and all those good things. But
I think it's going to be interesting tomorrow with Apple and with Twitter, with the, you know, the whole them, you know, Apple banning or closing down Discord or what was it? I forget. Yeah, Parler, and also Twitter.
yeah, no, it could be for sure. You know,
Yeah.
Those stocks are bound to. Let's see what futures are doing here. Yeah, they're flat. I mean, that's, you know, but just like after hours trading to me really doesn't mean anything. Futures on a Sunday doesn't mean anything either.
How can you tell so quickly that it's flat just by that big, all the squares there?
Oh, well, because it gives you the point. I mean, to me, it's not completely flat because the Dow Jones is up 18, S&P is up, you know, 1 point. But the FinViz also color codes these. So, you know, like the deep color red means it's really far down, I think. I've forgotten exactly what the color coding is, but it gives you the points that it's moved. And the Nikkei right now is up 40. You know, so a lot of times there's a little bit of correlation between how the Asian markets are going and what we can expect. If we got a flat open tomorrow, that would be, I haven't seen a flat open in like months, right? So we'll review all this stuff again in the morning.
What do you mean when you say flat? I don't actually know anything about futures. So
Oh,
what does it mean to be flat?
so flat just means that it's not gapping up or down. That's all
Oh,
I
I
mean.
see.
Yeah. And a lot of people, and I think I was this way in the beginning too, with gaps, they would freak me out. I didn't know what to think and all these things, but now, you know, I just know if they're gonna pull back, it's probably gonna be at the open. And I know what to look for that trend reversal. And I just let the market tell me the biggest thing that has helped my trading is looking at the charts and understanding them, obviously, and understanding the strat signals, but letting the market tell me. Because I used to do this so many times, I'd want to bang my head into the wall where I'd get an idea in my head and that's how I would trade. And then I'd look at the chart after I had a loss and go, what am I doing? So if you cannot do that, like I did, and just let the market tell you, and if you don't know what that means by let the market tell you, then learn some more before you get into trades, because you're going to get hurt. And that's the best advice I can give. What time is tomorrow morning? So it is at 8:45 Eastern Standard Time. So we usually spend about a half an hour going through stuff, and then I gotta jump off and get my trades ready to go and everything set up. Which color line is the 20? So I programmed my 20 to turn red when it goes down. I can share that script in Discord. I'll just post it in Discord. So basically when the 20 is pointing down, which means a downtrend could be starting, it'll turn red. And then when it is pointing up, it will turn green. The voice channel, yeah. Yeah, sometimes people go on a different channel, whatever channel the most people are in, I just jump in that one. Figure that's the easiest to do. But yeah, anyone that needs that, go ahead and DM me on Twitter and I will get that to you tonight so you have it for tomorrow. Thanks for coming, guys, and let's have an awesome start to the week tomorrow. I'm excited, and I will see you then.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Jen.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jen.
You are so welcome.